Hello everyone, welcome to Twisted Serenity with Mimi. Thanks for clicking on my channel. If you're returning to my channel and subscribe to my channel, I want to let you know that I do appreciate you and I do thank you. If you're new to my channel, please take a second right now and subscribe to my channel. It will help YouTube notice me a little bit more so I could keep on bringing you guys content. Well, today we are going to do my favorite, of course, farmhouse decor. So if you want to craft with me or sit back and relax, let's get started. Okay, so for this first one, a 5x7 canvas that we got from Dollar Tree, and we are just going to take a box cutter and rip off the canvas part. If you want to do this neatly, it's up to you to save the canvas, but I have tons and tons of these, so I just ripped this one all off. We grab our Waverly antique wax and we're going to stain our entire frame. We get inside the borders as well. Once it's stained and dried, I grabbed a piece of cardboard and I'm going to trace around our frame. Basically, this is going to be the backing for our picture frame, and it's going to give us a little bit of more support. Now I do take a piece of cardstock and I cut a piece the same size as the backing of the frame, because I figured if I paint over the cardboard, it's going to give it too many bumps. So I want it to be a smoother canvas, basically. So I do take that cardstock and I do paint it in black because I had no black cardstock. If you have black foam board for Dollar Tree, that would be perfect, so you won't have to cut out these pieces like I did. So now I'm just taking a school glue stick and I am going to attach our cardstock onto our cardboard. That was a tongue twister. Let's grab our hot glue and we are going to take our little inside frame cardboard piece and we glue it right on to the back of our frame. Now these decals, I made them with my Cricut, and make sure that you just pull them off slowly if you are going to do it. If you're going to do it the same way that I'm doing it, because it will peel off your paint, your transfer paper, especially if it's really sticky. So it basically says fresh herbs, basil, parsley, and cilantro. That's it. Very simple little decal. Like I said before, if you don't have a Cricut, Dollar Tree has great stencils, stickers, rub-on transfers. They have it all. Now I grabbed these tacks, of course, from Dollar Tree. Like all my products are mostly from Dollar Tree, and I am just cutting off the tack part. And we are going to attach these little tacks to the four corners of the inside of our little picture frame. Okay, you guys, now that we have that part done, I have this piece of scrap wood that I had in my stash, and I'm just going to sand it down, and I'm going to stain it the same color, like with the antique wax, to match our little picture frame. So I have this piece of scrap wood, and then I'm going to take another piece of smaller scrap wood that I have, and the smaller piece is kind of the thickness paint stir stick. And if you don't have wood like this, you could also grab those MDF board type of signs that Dollar Tree does carry mostly all the time, and you could cut that down and use it for this piece as well. Or Dollar Tree does have wood now. I don't know if they have any as thick as this one, but you don't have to use it as thick as this one. But Dollar Tree does have wood now. You just need a platform, and you're gonna see why, because we're gonna attach a couple little things on it. Okay, so we grab a 3-pack of the mini terracotta pots, and we take some Waverly plaster paint, and we basically do a heavy dry brush on all of our little pots. Once we do it with the plaster, we go over it with a chippy brush with antique wax. We want it to look very, very distressed. Okay, we have all our pieces done, and now we're going to assemble everything. So we take the smaller stick and we put it right in the middle, glue it right to the middle of our baseboard, because we are going to glue our sign at the top of our smaller little stick. Okay, so now that we have our base all assembled, we're going to take our terracotta pots and we're going to glue them on our bottom of our base. You could use E6000 or wood glue to even hold up the sign. I just use hot glue for video purposes, but if you want it to be a little bit more sturdier and to hold longer, use a more sturdy, long holding glue. Now, the middle one is going to be a little bit more pushed forward than the two on the side because of the middle stick, but that's completely fine. Now I just fill it up with some greenery to look like little herbs. Obviously they're not exactly like the herbs, but you just take 3 different type of greenery and you fill up the little terracotta pots. And then you guys, I turned it around and I added 2 little tacks in the front of each corner of the baseboard just to match the ones on the frame, and that is it, you guys. Okay, you guys, I have these 1/4 inch dowel rods and I'm going to cut 8 pieces down to roughly around 5.5 inches, and I'm just taking my miter shears and cut these down. Now these don't cut completely straight, so when you do end up cutting all your pieces down, you are going to have to sand the ends of all of them. And then I'm just separating the pieces, and I take 4 of the pieces and I build a square with them, and I attach them with wood glue and hot glue just for that sturdy hold. So once you do that, you should be ended up with 2 squares out of the 8 pieces that you ended up cutting down. Now you guys, I'm just taking some wood filler and I'm just filling up all those like creases and like gaps. That's the word I'm looking for. Those gaps that are inside the corner of all the little wood pieces. You sand them down, make sure you get them nice and cleaned up so when we paint over this, it doesn't really show. Okay, so I take my dowel rod again and I'm going to cut down 4 pieces. They're approximately, I want to say 12 inches each. And once I have them cut down, like I said, these don't cut pretty even, I'm going to give them a quick little sand. Once I have all pieces sanded up, I take my wood glue and I take my hot glue and I start to attach all my pieces down to the first square. Yeah, to the first square. And then once they're attached, I put the top square on top of all of them. If you can't tell by now, we are making a lantern. Okay, so now that we have everything assembled, I have these dowel rods that are from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to cut them down because we are going to make an X in the lantern. The X that we formed with the dowel rod is approximately 3 to 4 inches up from the lantern. I did not make the X at the bottom of the lantern. So we glue the pieces together. Then we take one of these little mini square little wood pieces from Dollar Tree and we glue it right into the middle of the X. Then I have this wood circle that comes in a pack from Walmart, and I want that to be basically our base where we could put our decorations on. I use wood glue and hot glue, and I attach our little circle piece onto our little wooden square. What I didn't show here, eventually afterwards, I glue one more of the little wooden square pieces underneath the circle for better reinforcement, because it was a little wonky. So now we finally have everything assembled. I'm going to stain our lantern with antique wax. And if you see right here, you could see the second little square piece that I had glued down, because like I said, I wanted more reinforcement, so when we put something on top of the little circle wood round, it's more sturdier. Now the little wood round I painted with white chalk paint because I didn't want it to be the entire thing in Waverly wax. I do distress the middle of it with Waverly wax, and then I'm going to distress the lantern with white chalk paint. So basically opposite from each other, just to give it a little bit of a more of a farmhouse look and a little bit of a rustic feeling. Okay, everything's painted, so we grabbed some of those tacks that we used in our first DIY. The tacks that we picked up from, the thumbtacks we picked up from Dollar Tree. And we are going to cut off the little tack part, and we are going to glue all the tacks to each of the corners of our lantern. Now this little vase, I thought it would be perfect for the middle of our lantern. I think I picked up in the Target dollar spot a couple years ago. I was going to leave it white, but I wanted to give it a little bit different tone. I leave always everything white. I said, let's paint it black. That was like the best decision I did, my opinion. So I painted it black. I added some greenery to it. I placed it on our little wood round lantern. Look at how gorgeous. Let me know in the comments, you guys, what you guys think. Okay, you guys, so I have this picture frame from Dollar Tree. The frame part is not real wood, even though it looks real wood. It has like a plastic feel to it. So I just removed it from the frame, and I decided to take the little foam floral and as much paper as I can off of it. I sand it down, and I do paint this side. Once I painted it, I really didn't like the way it looked. It had like a little bumps to it and stuff, so I flipped it around and I painted the back side once I removed the little hanger from the back side. So if I ever want to do a double side picture frame, I guess I can too, because now both sides are painted and ready to go. So I do paint it in Waverly chalk paint and the color ink. So here's where I decide to paint the backside. So I remove the little hanger, sand it down, and just paint the backside. Now, once it's painted and I have it all done, I take it, our frame, and I was going to paint it, but I just liked the tone that it had, so I left it as is. And I pop it back into the frame. Now I made this little decal with my Cricut. I just printed out a H, an M, and an E. And obviously we're making a little home sign. I transfer on my decals. Like I had mentioned previously earlier in this video, just make sure you remove your transfer tape very slowly, since these are painted on, like the bottom parts are painted on. You don't want the transfer tape to rip up your paint while you're ripping off your transfer. So we need an O for our little sign, and this is the Dollar Tree garland, and I've used this in so many projects and I still have a piece left over. So I rip off the floral that it has on it, and I just take like the bottom wire part and I form it into an O. I glue the little piece of the top together, and then I wrap that little top piece with some twine. So our little wire part already had a brown tone to it, but I wanted it to be a little bit darker. So I took some brown paint and I just painted it in brown. And once it was dried up, I took this extra boxwood greenery that I had and I started to glue it down to our wreath, just halfway, to make a little half floral wreath. Once that was complete, I took our little wreath, I glued it down to our sign, and that was it. Look at how, to me, I feel like this is more high-end farmhouse than rustic farmhouse. I love the way this one came out. So easy to create and so inexpensive. Okay, so pick up one of these birthday containers with the lid in the party section of Dollar Tree. We're not going to use the lid, so we just set it aside. Now here's where I got weird. I had went to Walmart to pick up Waverly white chalk paint. I didn't look and I grabbed white wax. So since it was cardboard, I was like, okay, let me just use a base coat of the white wax and then I'll paint over it. I was like, I never put white wax on cardboard. So it gave a little bit of texture to the cardboard, which I was okay with. It made it more like, when I painted over it, it gave it more texture and stuff. So if you want to do that, go right ahead. But I was like, I had to use this wax and see what it did. I should have used it on wood first, but trial and error, imperfect perfections, like I always say. So once I did the white wax, I did go over it with my regular Waverly white chalk paint. So once it was all dried, make sure it dries up. I did kind of a heavy dry brush of Waverly wax. And once I did it all around, and then once I got to a section, I left it blank because I'm going to use my Dollar Tree rub-on transfers that I have not used this one yet. I hold it down very tightly so it doesn't move, and I was actually so impressed of how this transferred on. It was so smooth. I always just use the back of my little pokey tool that it's like a rubber backing to it, and I just rub it on. And you could kind of see with rub-on transfers, you can see when it actually transfers on because the top sheet does get lighter. So you actually know when to lift it. If you lift it, make sure you keep it in place, because if you do lift it up and there's not a spot that's on it, like rubbed on the right spot, just lay it back down and just rub it on some more. Okay, so I have that transfer on, and I just pick up my bristle brush again, my little Dollar Tree bristle brush. I love this thing. And I just distress over the rub-on transfer. Okay, so my little mini dowel pieces. If you're a returning subscriber, you already know this bag has lasted me so long. This was a bag of little wooden block pieces from Goodwill that I picked up only for $1. And I mean, it brought a couple hundred of different shapes of wood pieces. So I grabbed 4 of the dowels. Obviously, you could cut down dowels, or you could use like the wooden blocks from Dollar Tree. I paint them in black, and then I attach them to the bottom of our little container. I add some greenery to this, and I don't know about you guys, but look at how gorgeous this is. I want to thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to comment your favorite down below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on that bell notification to be notified when I post my next video. And always, always, always remember, this world could throw you twists and turns, but always make good choices. To the next one, you guys.